we play an instrument that is very old, really one of the very oldest instruments. Yet, the modern harp is very young. And as you can imagine, the machinery and all the mechanics within the harp have only recently been developed. And so the thing that is so great is that here behind us, we have basically the whole modern history of the harp, and much of our playable repertoire has come through these three harps that are sitting behind us. And so in terms of students learning pedagogically, it's important if you play Mozart that you're thinking of something like this harp, that it wasn't written for the modern pedal harp, and you have to play with that sort of sensitivity. This wraps everything together, the pedagogy, being able to play music with the correct amount of sensitivity, understanding mechanically what was possible at the time, tying in with history, and then tying in with what we do in a modern age. That's really what education is about. I've known David for quite a few years. He was one of the first people that I met when I came to UNT, and he, out of the blue, gave me a call. It was late one evening, and he said, "So, Jamie, what do you think about maybe adding a few harps to your fleet?" And I was on cloud nine from that point forward. But really, as you can imagine, harps are not easy to come by, and especially harps that are as rare and special as these instruments.
I had this collection, and I did not want them broken up. I did not want them sold. I wanted to keep them as a unit. This has taken basically 3 decades to collect these instruments. I did a master's here, and my thesis was on harp construction, and I thought, this is perfect. I found a home for my guys. So
some of these screws are just very tiny, and you got to be very careful when you unscrew something you don't pop the head off. You won't find a replacement.
Yeah, there's a lot of homework before you even pick up a screwdriver. Just basic carpentry or machine work, or if you have to use any of the modern CAD machines to replace or rebuild a part, you can do that. And it's truly a labor of love. Sometimes I have to be a machinist, a carpenter, a gilder, a painter, or whatever.
This is actually, it's a very specialized area of expertise, and we're lucky to have somebody in the Dallas area who knows as much as David does about, not only about historic harps, but just about working on harps in general. It's quite remarkable.
The fattest part of the soundboard is right in the middle. It gets thinner as it goes out to the side. Now that's a phenomenon that happens only through here. It doesn't happen up there. But Erards also beefed up the middle because they get quite pot-bellied, and this is where they break, and sure enough, this board is broken.
This one is it's the oldest and the earliest. Instead of little folk harps which have hand levers to change a sharp or a flat, something like that, now we have pedals. Here's the string, and it has a little hook that it frets the string, and you actually get a raised pitch.
And here's the fret. There's a little bar here, pulls the string against the bar, and you get a pitch change.
Problem with this harp, the strings get out of line sometimes if the pedals are down, so you're not playing in an absolute straight line. That wasn't good enough for harp players. They have to, and our genius is Sebastian Erard. All right, instead of pulling the strings out of line, how about using a disc, and it will keep the string in a straight line, and you will accomplish the sharp. And this is called a single action harp. There is only one row of disc. Well, that's not good enough because music is getting a lot more complicated now. Hence, in 1812, the mastermind Sebastian Erard has a double row of disc. So, boy, that changes everything. Now we have a flat, a natural, and a sharp. On a piano, you play the E key, but on the harp, you pull the F string, make sure the pedal's all the way up to the top. So now we can do all these, fabulous glissandos only on this harp, but not these.
It's amazing. Wow.
They don't belt out a whole lot of sound. Well, the Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto is written for this one, the tiniest of the harps. Could not be played in a room like this, would have to be played in a little parlor.
And it's interesting because it's completely different from how we standardly perform that work today, which is normally for an audience of many, many hundreds in a gigantic hall. I think this is exactly what gets to the education standpoint of it, which is that having that context is so crucial. And we can go and look at these harps and say, well, yes, this is why it's different. This is why this passage is different difficult on the modern harp. There's something graceful and beautiful about it that everybody seems to agree. You're so close to the sound of the harp. You can't get any closer than that. If you have a day with dry skin, you'll sound different from a day when your skin is sweaty, And so on a daily basis, I think it's always evolving, and it's a bit of you that goes out.